Hello everyone, welcome back to Jikook Moments. Have you ever seen two people standing in the middle of such a huge concert, yet somehow, it feels like they are the only two people in the world? That night at the Stanford concert, thousands of ARMY filled the stadium with purple lights and incredible cheers. The atmosphere was massive, full of energy, and overflowing with a kind of euphoria that's impossible to put into words. But strangely enough, in the middle of all that noise, so many people's attention was drawn to something incredibly simple: the way Jungkook kept looking at Jimin with such soft eyes. From the tiny touches on the knee, the way their shoulders naturally brushed against each other without any awkwardness, to the moment their faces were so close it felt like the entire stadium stopped breathing for a second, everything immediately left ARMY speechless. And what made everyone's hearts tremble the most was how Jungkook chose to sit next to Jimin that night. He even seemed to approach Namjoon first, almost as if he was apologizing before finally sitting beside Jimin. Such a small and simple gesture, but for many people, it felt like a quiet message that said everything, that even among thousands of people, Jungkook still wanted to be by Jimin's side. In today's video, we're going to talk about all the sweet moments, meaningful glances, soft interactions, and warm Jikook chemistry at Stanford that made ARMY unable to stop smiling and even crying emotionally. So make sure you stay until the end, because there are a few small details you may not have noticed before. That night truly felt different. Not just because of the sea of light sticks filling the stadium or the incredible stage performances, but because the atmosphere around Jimin and Jungkook felt much warmer, softer, and almost intimate in a way that's difficult to explain. In the middle of thousands of cheering fans, they looked like they had their own little world. From the very beginning of the concert, the two of them seemed incredibly comfortable sitting side by side. Nothing about it felt forced. They looked relaxed, like two people who naturally find peace whenever they are beside each other. Strangely, even with tens of thousands of people in the stadium, everyone's attention kept drifting back to the small interactions between them. Because whenever Jimin and Jungkook are together, the world around them seems to slowly disappear. In several moments, Jungkook could be seen quietly watching Jimin. His gaze felt soft, calm, and full of attention. As if in the middle of such a huge crowd, his focus was only on one person. And there was one tiny moment that instantly melted so many hearts, when Jungkook gently tapped Jimin's knee. The gesture was so simple. It was almost unnoticeable. But precisely because it felt spontaneous and natural, the interaction became even sweeter. There was no dramatization, no exaggerated reaction. Just two people who seemed so comfortable with each other that even a small touch like that felt incredibly warm. They sat so close together. Their shoulders brushed several times without either of them pulling away. Their knees nearly touched, and both of them looked completely relaxed sharing that tiny space together. The closeness felt natural, like something they had long been used to. They didn't need to try hard to look close, because the comfort between them had already existed from the very beginning. Throughout the concert, Jikook once again became lost in their own little world. They spoke softly, occasionally laughed quietly, and leaned closer to whisper to each other. Jungkook kept watching Jimin, while Jimin responded with gentle smiles that felt so genuine. And that's exactly where their warmth lies. None of their interactions felt dramatic. Everything was simple, calm, and filled with comfort. There was a quiet sincerity in the way they cared for each other without needing many words. Then came the moment that made the entire stadium seem to slow down for a second. Jimin gently touched Jungkook's neck. The movement was soft and natural, like an unconscious reflex done without even thinking. There was absolutely no awkwardness between them. Their faces were so close, only inches apart, that many people felt as though the distance between them completely disappeared that night. For a moment, time seemed to stop just for the two of them. The way Jimin looked at Jungkook was so warm and tender, while Jungkook stayed completely still, letting the moment happen without moving away even slightly. Their eyes said far more than words ever could. And maybe that's why the moment felt so emotional for so many ARMY. There was nothing huge or over the top about it, but precisely because of its simplicity, it felt incredibly sincere and intimate in the purest way possible. But if that still wasn't enough to make ARMY smile uncontrollably, there was another interaction that felt unbelievably adorable. Jungkook lifted his hand and formed half of a tiny heart, as if hoping Jimin would complete it. But instead of finishing the heart symbol, Jimin simply looked at Jungkook with a soft, meaningful smile. He didn't need to complete the heart because the way he looked at Jungkook already said everything. Jimin's smile that night felt different. Small and gentle, yet filled with comfort. His gaze was warm and sincere, as though he understood every emotion Jungkook was trying to express without needing any explanation. And Jungkook himself looked so relaxed and happy, repeatedly unable to hide the way he looked at Jimin with such fondness. That night, they truly shined in the simplest way possible. Sitting side by side like that felt symbolic to many people, almost like a quiet confirmation of something everyone had always noticed. Jimin and Jungkook always seemed to find their way back to each other. Whether in interviews, backstage, during rehearsals, or even at massive concerts, they always look the most comfortable when they are together. Always sitting close, always sharing small smiles, always getting lost in their own little world. And maybe that's why so many ARMY felt emotional watching them that night. Because everything felt so natural. Nothing seemed forced. Nothing felt exaggerated. They simply looked like two people who genuinely enjoyed each other's presence. Then the atmosphere became even more emotional when the "Towards the Sun" moment began. As Jungkook sang Jin's part, his gaze slowly turned toward Jimin. The way he delivered the lyrics felt so emotional that many ARMY were immediately reminded of the lyrics from GCF in Tokyo. "I keep running so I can't let go of your hand." And somehow, everything felt perfectly aligned with the mood of that night. The way Jungkook sang while looking at Jimin made so many people feel emotions they couldn't even explain. Especially when he sang the lines, "Never too far behind. I hear the call and I run. Never too far behind. You call me, I run." Jungkook's eyes looked incredibly sincere, while Jimin responded with such a soft expression that it instantly made countless hearts tremble. No words needed to be spoken. The way they looked at each other was already enough to make the atmosphere deeply emotional. And when Jungkook sang the lyric, "Stay with me on my worst day," Jimin immediately smiled softly. That smile felt incredibly sweet and meaningful. It wasn't a huge smile or an exaggerated reaction. It was precisely that small, sincere smile that made it feel so special. Jimin's expression that night was truly soft, warm, and full of comfort, as though he understood every emotion Jungkook wanted to convey without needing any further explanation. That's why their little moments always manage to touch so many hearts. Because everything feels spontaneous and real. Nothing about it looks staged. Their interactions exist through small glances, gentle smiles, soft touches, and the way they always pay attention to each other no matter how crowded the world around them becomes. At the Stanford concert, Jikook didn't actually do anything huge or dramatic. But precisely because of that simplicity, their chemistry felt even warmer and more special. The way Jungkook constantly watched Jimin, the way Jimin responded with soft smiles and comforting looks, and the way they always ended up sitting side by side like two people who never truly wanted to be apart, all of it made that night unforgettable. And maybe that's why Jikook's little moments always feel so special to so many ARMY. They don't need to do anything grand to touch people's hearts. Sometimes, just a small glance, a soft smile, or the way they always return to sit beside each other, is already enough to make everything feel warm. That Stanford concert may have been filled with thousands of people and a sea of purple lights, but Jimin and Jungkook still managed to create their own little world, a world that felt calm, comforting, and full of genuine care for one another. And maybe, that's exactly why so many people still can't stop thinking about their moments that night. If you also felt their warm chemistry at Stanford, don't forget to leave your thoughts in the comments below. Which moment made you smile the most, or even tear up emotionally? And of course, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss the latest updates and more sweet Jikook moments on this channel. See you in the next video.